So, I'm going on a date.
Hello again, YouTube. How are you today? So, I want for you to imagine that you go on a first date with somebody, and then afterwards, you look them up on social media, and you find this.
I would give this guy like a good 7 out of 10, 6.5 out of 10 for like looks, but like he's so tall. So I figure I'll give him a chance. Also, he is like in the end of law school, so like I'll be making money and I want to be there.
What would you do? Would you go on a second date with them or no?
Shut up! Y'all act like I put this fucking man's photo on an app and was just like, look at him, he's a 6 out of 10. It's an anonymous person. Georgie, this is not the time! Not only did I not say his name, but I also didn't say one characteristic about why I thought he was unattractive. To me. And it's not even that he was unattractive. I literally gave him an above average rating. Shut up! Shut up!
I want you to really ponder this and tell me your answer during this commercial break.
Oh, silly boy, I don't pay for dates. And if I do, he will never see me again. Men make us cry and they waste our time. So it's kind of like reparations. My money goes into savings, their money gets spent on me. It's the kind of win-lose situation I've always dreamed of.
Sorry for throwing in a commercial break so early. As you guys may know, I'm in grad school right now, and unfortunately, I do not have a sugar daddy, so gotta do what you gotta do. But thank you for not using ad blocker, hopefully. Or if you have premium, even better. But anyway, the girl that we just now saw was the TikToker formerly known as Realistic Recovery.
Body positivity movement kept me fucking fat.
Hello? It concerns me that you think your personal experience with being should be projected onto everyone else. Just because you were and unhealthy doesn't mean everyone else is. P.S. The body positivity movement isn't for 200-pound white girls. Bye.
She showed up in my last video because she made some outlandish claims that you're not allowed to have a preference for the way your own body looks and that it's fatphobic to want to lose weight.
Do it. You don't have to worry about me. You do not have to worry about me.
This is what makes exercise fatphobic. If your motivation to go to the gym is solely cosmetic or to shrink your body to reduce the amount of body fat, I've got bad news for you, supported by substantial scientific research.
She sometimes says things like, research says, blah, 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 according to research, but then she doesn't cite her research, except for that one time when she said that it's fatphobic to have an eating disorder.
Have an intense fear of weight gain or becoming fat, such as required for a diagnosis of anorexia nervosa, recurrent episodes of binging and then purging to avoid weight gain, required for a diagnosis of bulimia nervosa, or if you have BDD and your preoccupation has to do with body size, it would be literally impossible for you to not be fatphobic. Because fatphobia is the fear or hatred of fat bodies. That doesn't mean you're a bad person, and in my next video I'm going to tell you why.
And then she also cited her sources when it was a doctor who she went on a date with, who was probably trying to sleep with her and telling her what she wanted to hear. That doesn't count as a source. But yes, you're not allowed to want to lose weight because that is fatphobic. She said in that eating disorder video that, oh yes, it is fatphobic for you to have an eating disorder, but that doesn't make you a bad person. But then in this other video where she completely shames this woman for being more motivated to go to the gym after she steps on the scale.
You're not using any actual real measures for physical fitness beyond the scale, then it's not for health. It is because you are actively avoiding fatness, which is, yes, fatphobic.
She calls this woman fatphobic in such a catty way.
When somebody makes an anti-black comment, are you nice to them? No? Oh, well, that's actually the same reason I'm not nice to fatphobes. Stop perpetuating harm to the fat community and I'll be nice. It's actually quite simple.
Everybody out here is fatphobic for wanting to lose weight or for not wanting to gain weight, wanting to avoid gaining weight. You're not classist. When people call you out for being a gold digger and you call them broke in a disparaging way.
Men with money don't care if you're dating them because they have money. The only people who care that I'm dating them for money are broke people in my comments.
I understand that it's difficult for people who are overweight and who have been overweight for their entire lives. It's difficult for them to lose weight. But it is also difficult to make a lot of money if you weren't born with a silver spoon in your mouth. How dare you look down on people for being broke? How dare you?
Okay, and if fat people are actually oppressed, then what's wrong with wanting to avoid that? Obviously, no one would want that sort of treatment because you are actively supporting a beauty standard that marginalizes an entire group of people for things that are out of their control, and therefore supporting the idea that fat is bad.
It just doesn't make sense to me that you get all high and mighty and call people fatphobic and then at the same time brag about this easy money that you're getting. This material girl life hack. First of all, this material girl hack is also known as theft. And if it were me personally, I would be a little bit more discreet with my dishonesty or not post that on TikTok. I would actually use that as an excuse like, oh, I didn't know that I forgot to put in my own credit card information. But you don't care, right? If I was at all interested in getting away with it.
A little update, it's been 4 orders and this man still has not said anything. Anyways, I ordered so much food that they gave me 2 forks. I mean, I did order a lot, maybe. I'm hungry.
But seems like she's less interested in getting away with this. She's more interested in flexing. I wasn't actually flexing, okay? Don't judge me for having noodle arms, by the way.
I don't know how many weeks it's been, but I'm still ordering from DoorDash for free. For legal reasons, I can't disclose why.
But yes, this business of flexing who you're dating, flexing about your dating life. It's very interesting to me because I do see the topic of desirability politics come up a lot. When people say, I don't date X group of people because I'm not attracted to them, and then there's this whole discourse about whether that's okay to do. I think that what's more concerning to me and what should be more concerning to more people are those who are sexually attracted to people in whatever marginalized group you want to talk about, trans people, fat people, black people, etc., but are not willing to date them publicly because they cannot flex. They don't see that person as trophy wife or trophy girlfriend or boyfriend, whatever material. And there definitely is this culture of having your relationship be a sort of status symbol. And I do wonder why that isn't talked about more. I thought about this more as the issue of desirability politics kept coming up and the issue of whether or not you're attracted to whatever group of people keeps coming up. Most extreme example that I saw. Oh, baby. Okay, so I decided that I flashed enough text at you throughout this video and it's time for me to actually take the time and read something. So that's what I'm doing here. This is from the Fat Sex Therapist. The photo says, "Fatphobia is not a sexual preference." And the caption says, "If you get defensive while reading my post, that is important data for you. Something is feeling like a knot wanting to be unraveled, but there's a tug. This resistance, and it's helpful to interrogate what's holding back the desire to shift and open. For folks who read this and are like, yes, I am fat and I'm super attracted to other fat people. Amazing, I'm with you. This post is for the folks who get upset when I talk about fat liberation and they worry about being forced to be attracted to fat people. I've had folks DM me with assurances that they just have never been attracted to fat people, and no one should try to challenge those ideas. Newsflash, being unattracted to an entire group of people is a choice. What's so interesting is that we think our human brains exist in an isolated tree just within our control, and that they aren't impacted by the entire forest of trees that its roots are connected to. Our sexual preferences are not hardwired. They are socially conditioned, and we have some control over their fluidity. Okay, something that I want to point out, I forgot to point this out before. It says up here that being unattracted to an entire group of people is a choice, and down here it says we have some control over our fluidity. Some control does not mean total control. So, are your sexual preferences a result of nature or nurture? I personally would say that it's both. For example, if you read and watch a lot of romantic stories, a lot of love stories where you have the bad guy who's an asshole, but deep down, he really cares about you. He loves you. And the way that he expresses that he's in love with you is by being an asshole because he doesn't know how to process his feelings. And that's kind of seen as desirable. And so sometimes girls look for guys like that in real life when really, maybe this is what you could be looking for instead. This is the correct option. I mean, do any of you guys watch K-dramas? Maybe we'll talk about this K-drama another time, but I just wanted to let you guys all know this is the correct option. I do think that when it comes to nature over nurture, gay people would, especially in a very homophobic society, would have every incentive to not be gay. You want to have children. Even in an accepting society, it's still easier to have children if you're not gay. Discrimination, eternal damnation, people using religion. That's really scary to think that you could go to hell for being gay. So there's a lot of incentive out there to not be gay. And then there's the conversion therapies, which were unsuccessful in turning people straight. So just made people hate themselves more. People brought this up in the comments that, oh, this seems kind of homophobic. And somebody wrote a long response why sexual preference and sexual orientation are two different things. And it doesn't apply to this Instagram post. But the caption itself doesn't make that distinction. It really does seem like they are saying you're not allowed to exclude any group of people for any reason. It's always your bias talking. And up here, I do want to point out that misogynoir is in this list, which is misogyny against Black people, against Black women. I always thought it was weird that the noir part doesn't have an E at the end because the E would make it feminine. That's besides the point. So we mentioned nature versus nurture. I would love to know your opinion on that when it comes to lack of attraction to fat people, because you could argue that it's evolution. Some things that we look for in a potential mate is a product of evolution. For example, the hourglass figure, wanting a woman with wide hips, that would be beneficial if she were to give birth. But I also know that that wasn't quite the standard of beauty just a short while ago. So I do think that people's sexual preferences do change based off of what the standard of beauty is at the time or what it is in your specific culture. If you grew up in a specific culture where certain features are admired, then you might want those features or you might want those in a potential mate. When it comes to evolution, wanting to find what you perceive to be the best looking mate, the smartest mate, maybe the most healthy or athletic mate. But there's another argument with obesity on whether or not it's healthy, whether or not you could be healthy at every size. Not something that everybody agrees with. I already said that I disagree with that. So going back to the Instagram post. So when folks say that they don't date X group of people for Y list of reasons, please just name it for what it is. Fatphobia, anti-blackness, racism, xenophobia, transphobia, misogynoir, addiction stigma, sex worker stigma, anti-native, anti-Dalit, classism, ableism, Islamophobia. Whew. My goodness, it is the most extreme take that I've seen just by the list that we are talking about, the list of people that we should not be excluding. People with addiction issues. My mom's last boyfriend lost his car because he has a gambling addiction. I understand that it's a mental illness. I understand that addiction issues are mental illnesses, and I respect that. I don't think that having an addiction automatically makes you a bad person. But also, I'm not gonna date somebody like you. Don't need to make $200,000, okay? It would be nice, especially since I live in San Francisco, but I just don't want to date somebody who would gamble away something as important as a car. And then there's other addiction issues that are dangerous, you know, like you could die from them or get very sick. And again, there's the financial component, and that can be very traumatizing for your family to deal with your addiction issues. This is just a lot. Sex worker bias. If people want to have a monogamous relationship with somebody, they should be able to seek that out. And sometimes sex work contradicts that. I mean, it depends on what kind of sex work it is and what you would consider cheating. But also on the list there is classism.
I'll do anything to fuck you.
You're so sweet, but no.
I'm sorry, but this girl right here is very guilty of it, especially she keeps on calling people broke as an insult. How dare you?
Yes, I've been caught. And honestly, it's like very nice of him to make sure that I know it's his fault and not mine. So
Basically what happened is this guy texted her noticing that there were some unexplained charges on his credit card, and then he realized that the charges must have come from her, and he thinks that this is all one big mistake and she forgot to use her own credit card information while ordering things from DoorDash, even though she has posts like this on her TikTok that have over 100,000 views. But on the other hand, she talks about all of these groceries she's getting for free, how she's not dating men for free. So wouldn't that be considered sex work? Is sex work inherently classist if they want to select people that they're going to sleep with based off of how much money they're getting out of this exchange? Can sex workers have money as their sexual preference but not the rest of us? What is your opinion on this? The conclusion. Yes, if your bigotry is bleeding into your dating life, this is a form of desirability gatekeeping. So I've never heard of the term desirability gatekeeping. Again, I would just call this a sexual preference or a dating preference. I imagine that they use the term desirability gatekeeping because most of us, no matter what your political orientation is, most of us see gatekeeping as a bad thing. So then when you call it gatekeeping, it has a very negative connotation as opposed to a preference, which is just natural. Everybody has preferences in some way or another. Just like you can have preferences for the music you like, for the kinds of foods you like, etc., etc. If I were to use a term like desirability gatekeeping, I wouldn't use it for people who have their own preferences for who they want to date. I would use it more for people who want to impose their preferences onto other people.
왜? 하필 하립니까? 하필? 그게 무슨 뜻입니까? 단도직입적으로 얘기할게요. 솔직히 사장님 정도면 어떤 여자라도 만날 수 있지 않습니까? 그런데 평범한 집안에 그것도 같은 회사 직원인 하리를 만난다는 게 저로선 납득이 안 돼서요. 그러니까 그 말은 시나리 씬 내가 만날 수준이 아니다. 이 말입니까?
So for example, if we look back at that list, like I mentioned before, there are some people who are sexually attracted to trans people, black people, fat people, etc. Say if you are not interested in that, but you have a friend who is dating somebody who is in one of these groups and you're like, oh my goodness, why are you dating that person? You are so far out of their league.
You'll soon find out that some wizarding families are better than others, Potter. You don't want to go making friends with the wrong sort. I can help you there.
I think I can tell the wrong sort for myself, thanks.
It's a deal breaker for me, therefore it should be a deal breaker to you, and you try to criticize them or shame them or even just question what's going on there and further stigmatize that relationship. I would call that gatekeeping, because it's fine if you don't want to date somebody, but if you look down on somebody else who is interested in those things, that's a problem, and that is something that happens. So again, I don't understand why that isn't talked about more.
하리가 걱정돼서 하는 말입니다.
이민우 셰프님은 사람 수준 따져가면서 만나나 보죠. 시나리 씨, 내 눈엔 차고 넘치게 매력 있는 여자입니다. 그러니까 다시는 내 여자 수준 함부로 정하지 마.
Okay, so I'm going to keep on reading. This doesn't mean I want you to human experiment being attracted to people you hate. Again, not being attracted to somebody does not mean that you hate them. It does mean trying some porn or erotica or visual art to explore what feelings are happening inside your body. How do you feel viewing a naked, fat body? Can you challenge yourself to find 2 to 3 attractive qualities of this art of a fat body? How does this exercise help you find gratitude, peace, stillness for your own body. The conclusion of, oh yes, if you find yourself not attracted to fat people, don't go out dating fat people that you're not attracted to. I appreciate you saying that instead of sleeping with somebody you don't want, watch the porn or erotic material. I don't agree. If we were to say that you're not interested in fat people, not because of evolution or anything like that, not because of anything innate within your own sexuality, it's because of the media that you watched, I still don't think it's a good idea to go right to porn. I would at least recommend a romantic comedy first. I mean, just imagine this. You grow up, the only times you see a fat person on the TV or in movies, you read about them in books, they are the comic relief, and then the only other alternative that you've exposed yourself to is porn. I don't think that that would help you find them dateable. Then it would lead to that other problem that I talked about before, which I think is a bigger deal of they don't want to flex that they are sleeping with that person.
Bruh, that's not even my best record. Like, why are you mad at something that's not even my best record? You're gonna get mad at the 10 guys in the same day. Or get mad at the 30 guys in 1 week. Thank you.
I know that Marissa Matthews has been in a lot of cringe videos. She's bragged about the amount of casual sex she's had, and that's not a big accomplishment because having sex with somebody casually is one thing. Having that person that you're having sex with introduce you to his mother, to his friends, proudly as his girlfriend, I think that that's a bigger deal. I just think that that aspect of dating preferences should be talked about a lot more, because what do you guys think? I would much rather have somebody completely reject me because they're not attracted to me at all than have somebody who is attracted to me but they're not proud of me and they would be ashamed to admit that they want anything to do with me. I think that would be horrible. Also, I am throwing this question out kind of randomly, but it does go with another video that has been in my drafts for a few months now. I want to know, what is your ethnicity or race, and would you ever date somebody who was specifically and exclusively looking for somebody who is your race? I want to hear what you have to say. And I'll work on that other video about the interracial couple that has been in my drafts for a while. It's a lot. And until then, take care and thank you for watching.